would be hard-pressed to find a more steadfastly positive and grateful lady, with a servant heart larger than her small frame, than my mother-in-law, Joy. Yet what makes her even more remarkable is this unwavering positivity despite her journey of hardship, loss, and diagnosis in recent years. A then single mother of 2 grown sons, Joy met Rick Haynes while attending Rhema Bible College in Broken Arrow, Oklahoma, and found her second chance at love. They married on October 1st, 1993 in Broken Arrow, and shortly after graduation in 1994 began their next new journey together as they ventured overseas to China to serve as missionaries, where they learned the language and ran an orphanage for 18 children. Once the last child had graduated high school, they felt they had completed their work there and felt it was time to return to the United States.
The children were all leaving, and they were out on their own starting new lives. And we felt then our work was done, and it was. And so then we came home.
After returning to the States in 2010, they pastored a church in Canada and Texas for a few years, and then returned to Wisconsin to be closer to family. They moved back to Wisconsin to be closer to her 2 sons, as Joy's youngest son, Ryan, my husband, and I were expecting twins at the time. Once our twin girls were born, Joy became our primary source of childcare as we returned to work, and Rick worked for the railroad. Comfortably living and enjoying Wisconsin, in September 2021, unexpectedly, Joy's oldest son, Russ, fell ill and passed away, leaving behind his wife and 2 sons.
I don't think you ever get over it, but you go through it. You go through it, but it's a choice. You have to choose. Are you going to let grief consume you, or are you going to let it walk alongside of you? And many times at night, before I went to bed, I'd have to check my heart. Sometimes you just got to do a checkup on yourself. And I would ask myself, where was grief today? And some days, I let it consume me, but I didn't let it consume me the next day.
Then, while Joy and Rick were still grieving the loss of her son, Rick fell ill just a few months later with a diagnosis of pneumonia and a lung infection. In February of 2022, Rick underwent surgery to attempt to clean up his lung. Though recovery seemed hopeful and Joy did all she could as his caregiver, Rick began to decline over time.
I knew where he was going, and I know I don't even have a clue really, but I have some idea what heaven's like. And so that gave me so much peace. But I didn't want him leaving. I just thought that was going to be longer. I mean, I didn't think it was going to be so short.
I know with losing Rick, it wasn't expected. It wasn't expected as soon as it happened. I saw a more vulnerable side of her after that because she really leaned and got support from family. It's just her though, that's how she does it. She just trucks right on through it. She was strong enough for Russ and for Rick that she ministered their funeral service. She did their funeral service. And everybody that I talked to after the funerals were like, they were so impressed by how she held it together and she was so strong. Mm-hmm. I mean, most people during their son's or husband's funeral, can't hardly even talk, and here she's doing the service itself. While Rick's health was declining, Joy was becoming more concerned with stomach pain that she was having. But like many caregivers do, she set it aside to care for Rick until his passing. Just after Rick's death, it was time that Joy called her primary caregiver, Dr. Daniel Johnson, at SSM Health Fond du Lac Regional Clinic, North Fond du Lac location, to address the stomach pain.
Well, this started in March. The pain was it was a different kind of pain, and right from the get-go, I knew it wasn't good. And but my focus was Rick was my main focus. And then I had other responsibilities.
A CAT scan revealed a tumor on her pancreas and lesions on her liver. Through a referral to Dr. Nathan Slindy, SSM Health Fond du Lac Regional Clinic gastroenterologist, it was determined a biopsy was necessary. Just 1 month following her husband's passing, Joy received a diagnosis of stage 4 pancreatic and liver cancer and was referred to Dr. Samir Tolay at SSM Health Cancer Care.
And I really didn't want the treatment. And Dr. Tolay told me that day, he said, well, if you don't take the treatment, you have just a matter of weeks to live without the treatment. That didn't bother me. But what changed my heart was when he talked about the treatment, and like that was my only hope. And when I looked over at Ryan and Missy, and I knew they wanted me to try everything there was to try, you know, because Ryan they didn't want me to die, you know, of course, but so I did it for them. I thought, I just can't walk out of here. To me, that would have been, that's selfish. I'd have just been thinking of myself, probably, and I was. I was. But when I saw them, and I wanted them to have hope.
After learning what Joy was facing and knowing that she was now facing serious financial troubles following the funeral expenses of her son and husband and having only her own Social Security to live on, my husband, Ryan, contacted social worker Christy Hepp at Cancer Care. Christy's been just amazing because I've run into Christy now a couple times, and she is just so genuine. It's amazing, the people at the Cancer Center.
Often, when a patient is diagnosed with a terminal or long-term illness, they have concerns about the financial burden their diagnosis will have on their lives, especially with the impact of today's inflation. Joy's son, Ryan, recognized that with her cancer diagnosis and plan of treatment, she would struggle financially. Through help from one of the SSM Health Cancer Care social workers, Joy was connected with the Caring for You Fund.
Christy was a godsend, immediately suggesting the Caring for You Fund to help Joy pay for her rent for a month.
Christy came in and we had such a good talk. I felt like she broke that pride. It left, and I saw things for the way they really are, and I needed help. I really did, financially. And I would tell you, they gave one certain amount, and it was enough. It covered my rent for that month. I needed it, and it meant so much to me that I don't think you get over something like that, because somebody else gave.
Her faith in the Lord is just inspiring, because the amount that she leaned on the Lord just to get through some of the hard times, she's just such a strength.
She is different than a lot of our patients, meaning she's so optimistic and always has wonderful things to say, no matter what the situation is. And so when she was initially diagnosed, it was not the end for her. It was a beginning, and she just looked at life a lot differently. And she gave all of us hope. She always gives all of us hope.
Over the past 12 years, the Carol Hyland Caring for You Holiday Luncheon has raised more than $315,000 to assist more than 800 people in need right here in our community. The journey Joy and her family have been on is difficult. We're grateful that through contributions to the Caring for You Fund, we were able to help Joy through this time to help relieve the financial impact her diagnosis has had. This fund exists to help patients with non-medical needs while they're undergoing treatment for terminal or long-term illness, with expenses such as rent, groceries, gas, or utilities when they need it most. please consider making a gift to the Caring for You Fund to allow us to continue to care for patients like Joy right here in our community. To make a contribution to the Caring for You Fund, please visit ssmhealth.com/caringforyou. Your support truly makes a difference.